Can you please tell us your name and where you're from?
My name is Rick Trombley. I'm from Markdale.
Okay, I'm Christopher Ketcher, and I'm originally born and raised at French River, south of Sudbury, about 45 miles on the old 69 highway, which is now the 400 highway.
Corporal Alex Hardemick, and I'm from Lucknow, Ontario.
I'm Sergeant Scott Simmons. I'm from Newfoundland.
So my name's Carl Wolf. I'm from Markdale.
Curtis Brutt. I live here in Eugene.
Yeah, so I'm Darren Reed, and I grew up in Markdale, and I live in Markdale.
My name is Paul McQueen, and I've been mayor here in Grey Highlands this is on my third term. I've been municipal council for 26 years. Live on our homestead farm that my ancestors came from Scotland in the 1850s, and we were beef farmers along with my three sons and my father, who just turned 90, and yeah, so we're on the east side of Grey Highlands. Used to be a township called Osprey, and it's so yeah. And again, been 26 years in municipal government.
What is your position?
I am a paramedic duty supervisor with Grey County Paramedic Services, and I'm also the secretary for Legion Branch 333 in Fletcher, Markdale.
What did you do, or how did you serve in the military?
Well, I joined up and ended up with the Royal Canadian Dragoons, driving Sherman tanks, and then we went from Sherman to the famous British Centurion tank. And that was a pleasure to be able to learn to handle those big items.
I started in the infantry. I was 3 RCR, and then I switched to the Air Force. I'm now in 436 Squadron.
I am right now at the Remy School in Borden, Ontario, and I'm a tank instructor. So I teach operating, maintaining, and driving the Leopard 2 platform.
I joined the Canadian Armed Forces in 1994. My trade is light infantry, and I deployed to Afghanistan in 2003, 2004. But since then, I've been full-time with the Canadian Armed Forces. I live in the local area, and I work actually out of Canadian Forces Base Borden. I work for a unit called the Canadian Rangers. So we're the 3rd Canadian Ranger Patrol Group. We go into remote, isolated northern communities, and we just teach life-saving skills to Rangers.
Well, I joined the military, the Royal Canadian Regiment, and I went to 3 Commando, the Airborne Regiment, which is this beret is the Airborne Regiment, which is a collaboration of all the infantry units, well, more than just infantry, but collaboration between RCR, the PPCLI, and the Vendus in Quebec. They amalgamated, and we formed the commando unit, 1 commando, 2 commando, 3 commando, and was part of 3 commando.
I'm an infantry soldier. It's my 35th year.
Do you have a connection to the military? If so, please tell us about it.
Well, I have multiple connections to the military. I was in the Grand Simcoe Foresters militia for a year back when I was just out of high school, and got to enjoy a little bit of military life that way. But more importantly, I have a lot of grandparents that were in World War II. Both my grandfathers served over in Italy. One was in the Signal Corps. He was a signalman, and he went all the way through Italy and up into Holland and the Netherlands. And then my other grandfather was he was a truck driver, also stationed in Italy conveniently, and yeah, he was all the way through the war as well. And my grandmother was what was called a Wren. It was the Women's Navy Corps, and so she was stationed out of Halifax during World War II, and she. You know, all 3 of them were Legion members, and all 3 of them were very proud of the service they did overseas.
With that, my grandfather, Alexander McQueen, served in the First World War. 1917, he enlisted and went through a few of those battles, Somme, Vimy Ridge. He was wounded, and I do have letters from him after he was wounded. He had a bullet lodged in his spine for 6 weeks before they operated and took out that bullet. He was shot through the lung, and the story I heard, he was left there to die, and I guess when at that time there was stretcher bearers that would go along and pick up whoever they thought was worth picking up. And the story always went was that the fellow in the front said, "Oh, he was too far gone," and the fellow behind who was supposedly was from Ellenville, who knew him, said, "No, we'll take him." And so he recovered after the First World War in England in a hospital, and so then in the Second World War he was too old to serve, so he became a veterans guard. And so he went overseas, and they brought prisoners of war back to Canada, and he was in a camp somewhere up in northern Ontario, and he served during that Second World War as a veterans guard.
Why is Remembrance Day important to you?
Given that I have connections with my grandparents, they sort of instilled the importance of Remembrance Day to me. I always have had a deep respect for those that put on a uniform and who serve. I myself chose to become a paramedic instead of following through with the military career, but I've found that the idea of putting on a uniform and doing something for somebody else is very important, and I think we need to remember those that have sacrificed themselves for us.
Well, Remembrance Day has a lot of remembrance for me because I lost a brother in France on the Second World War. His name was Thomas Ketcher, and he was only 21, but he joined up when he was 17, and he went overseas and was a dispatcher. In other words, that's what the motorcycle guys did those days, took the orders from one department to another as far as field work goes. They went from one command to another. And unfortunately, he was killed with shrapnel when he was doing that.
It's important to me because I've lost friends in Afghanistan. And it's also to remember the people that served before me.
Historically, it's a time to remember everybody who's fallen over the years in different wars, and remember people who were past, present, and future.
Ever since I was a young child, at the age of 13, I spent most of my Remembrance Days in the basements of legions. I started by selling poppies and supporting my local community, and I've just carried that out throughout my entire life. And I've noticed that over the years, the crowds have gotten smaller. When I was young, there was many World War II and World War I veterans even. To this day now, it's very rare to see anybody beyond or before the Afghanistan conflict.
Well, it's where we came from. It's all the veterans that fell before us, allowed us to walk in their shoes. So my regiment, the Airborne Regiment, was formed out of two regiments in Canada. The first pair that jumped in World War II, and then the Devil's Brigade that formed out with the West that became the Special Service Force. So after the war, the commandos became part of the Airborne Regiment, and then when they actually formed in 1968, they amalgamated all the commando units to form the Airborne Regiment.
Remembrance Day for me is, so in 35 years, I'm going to say Remembrance Day for me has changed why it's significant for me. So when I was a cadet and a young soldier, Remembrance Day was just what we did. We gave our time to remember those that came and went. Remembrance Day today for me now, it's like a revisitation of a funeral. It's a memorial. My dead friends, my mentors, my soldiers that I trained that are no longer here.
Well, I think the president of the Legion branch here, 333, Darren Reed, said it very eloquently today. It's the freedoms that we have. And he listed off a number of those. And I mean, we live in the best country in the world, is Canada. And the Charter of Freedom and Rights, or however that is worded, is listed. So we have all those freedoms that are to allow us to vote who we want to be representing us, to freedom of speech, freedom to debate, all those things that you mentioned this morning. And I guess on the other side is look what's happening around the world today and the conflicts that are happening here. And we're so blessed that, you know, we worry about getting up in the morning and we're going to put gas in the car. Look at some of those places in the world where, you know, currently right now in the Middle East, how, you know, they're fleeing for their life. So we're just so blessed on endless freedoms. And you can imagine those that, you know, did the ultimate sacrifices we're remembering today is, you know, what if that, you know, we didn't have those veterans and those before us to fight for our freedom, because it might have been a different place for ourselves.
And is there anything else with your experience as a veteran or with the military that you'd like to share with us or the people?
Well, I look at it this way. It is a wonderful experience and training to help young people kind of get disciplined in a different way to face later on in their life the world's trials and tribulations, because there's always a lot of trials and tribulations as you're going up. So if you have a good basis like military training, which gives you that, then you are ready for that other adventure, say, in life. Because it is an adventure, and you should be able to enjoy it. I've enjoyed my life all these years. I have no regrets.
But overall, I personally love my life. If I didn't, I wouldn't still be in the military, to be honest. But I love the historical side of it and what it is, what it represents. So.
I think my experiences are fairly not unique. I think they're the experiences that most of us all have shared, members of the Canadian Forces. It's like being a part of a family, being raised by a family, and it's a sense of belonging. It's a sense of duty, compassion towards your country and your family.
Well, I mean, it's the camaraderie of working with your buddies and you know, and just being with them. Like that's the whole part of this, is being together as a team and working together as a group. You're not individual. You work like a collective sphincter instead of a bunch of individual assholes. So that's kind of you work together and accomplish your goals.
Yep. Be thankful for what other people do to make you safe and secure and free.
And would you mind sharing with us what your medal is?
So yeah, in 2015, I went overseas to Nepal after the earthquakes. There was a 7.9 magnitude earthquake that happened. We went over for a humanitarian mission over in Nepal.
Okay, so this medal here, it's Canadian Forces decoration. It has to do with years of service. Right? And the more years of service you have, the more things get added to this medal. The medal beside it, it's the Special Service Medal with the Canadian Ranger bar. That denotes that I've done service with the Canadian Rangers. And then this medal here is a star that I received for going to Afghanistan.
Well, after I left the military, I joined the police force. So from right to left, I guess that's the Police Service Medal. Serving with the police force. The one in between is the Canadian Forces Decoration, and the one on your left is the Medal of Bravery.
I'm going to go off of your question a little bit there.
Absolutely.
Medals don't make anybody special. Medals don't make soldiers or sailors or airmen any better than anybody else. So what these do is they reflect a story. But for everyone that I own, there's probably 15 other people that helped me earn it that never got deployed or went anywhere.